You're not going to be done until you want to be done. And I don't.
Nobody can force you.
Nobody can force you. You can't do it for anybody else. You can't do it for your kids. You can't do it for your wife. You can't do it for your mom. It's between you and God.
Welcome back, guys, to another Hey Pops financial video. I'm Mitch.
I'm Pops.
And we've got our great friend John Shelman here. Man, we've got quite the interview for you today. John, I look up to him in so many different ways, in his ability to overcome some of the challenges that he's been through, which we'll get into, the way that he runs his business, the way that he treats his people, the way that he treats his customers is fantastic. So if you have questions about the things that you're going through and you don't think that you can get through them, we're going to go through a story that's going to prove to you that whatever it is that you're going through, you can. And if you're wondering if you can run a business in an ethical, kind way for people and still be successful, this is also going to be the podcast or the video that you're going to watch. So without further ado, let's jump into it. John, thank you, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
John, you've got quite a past from what I understand, from what Mitch has told me. I don't know you well like Mitch does, but take us through, just in 3 or 4 minutes, take us through a little bit about your journey to getting to where you are right now.
Sure. Well, I guess to start with, I always like to preface my upbringing. I grew up in a little town in Iowa. It's like 5,000 people in the middle of a cornfield. And
I thought that was all of Iowa.
Pretty much. But like I said, my hometown was 5,000 people. It was the biggest town in the county. So it was very rural, very. So everybody knew everybody, that kind of stuff, you know. Hardworking parents, went to church most Sundays, you know, got decent grades, A's and B's without really trying. Then went to the University of Iowa and found out that you can't go to college and get by on just you got to put in some effort.
You actually have to work.
I ended up caught up in, you know, it was the mid 80s and there was all sorts of cocaine and fun stuff, and I ended up doing a lot of not going to school. So you know how that worked out.
Yeah.
But anyway, I ended up traveling around a little bit and then landed here in Arizona. My grandparents had snowbirds out here, and it just always seemed so much different than Iowa. But so out here, just had bounced around a couple different jobs, that kind of thing, but really ended up caught up in the whole drug scene here in Arizona, and selling drugs became my profession, I guess you would call it.
Entrepreneurial
venture. There you go. My first entrepreneurial venture.
Probably didn't have a degree in that.
No, there was no degree necessary. Just some hustle and some, just some really silly decision making. It's so funny. I sit here today, and I look back, and it seems like it was a movie maybe I watched or a book I read, but it's hard to believe that this same brain was making those same decisions.
Isn't it interesting how sometimes, because I have kind of noticed some of the same things where I look back, I'm like, what the heck was I thinking during that time? Like, it doesn't feel like me, or the me of now, at least.
Sure, absolutely.
And it's not.
Well, that's true.
You can really
we've grown,
change
we've matured, we've changed.
You can change yourself if you decide to.
But, I mean, I got way off up in it, fellas. I was everywhere I went. I was armed everywhere. I mean, it was pounds and pounds of methamphetamine and a bunch of crazy people. There were some situations that I'm probably lucky to be alive from. I mean, I've been in rooms where there were lots of people and they all had their guns out and people were pissed.
Wow.
And it was that close to just being a
shootout.
And that's pretty scary stuff. But it was just the life at the time, and it seemed like it was okay. I mean, it was what.
So what changed?
Well, so the first time they put me, I got in trouble. They sent me to prison for 2 years.
Okay.
That didn't really teach me anything or slow me down. I was high the day I was out.
Slap on the wrist.
I was high the whole time I was in. It really didn't teach me anything. I was out a couple of months and got in trouble again. They sent me back for 4 years. That was a good time. we made it a good time. That's all I can say. I mean, it was like being on the streets with zero responsibilities. I mean, it's the only way I can explain it. Then I was out again, and I was out a couple of years, but not really. I mean, I violated my probation twice, and then got arrested on the charges I ended up going back the third time for, and then bonded out, and then ran, and the whole thing. I mean, it was quite a thing. But this third time, they gave me 9.25 years.
Oh, wow.
So, of which in Arizona, 85%, you do about 8 years. So I did 2 years, 4 years, and 8 years.
So
Like I said,
14, 12?
14. The 2 years, I always say, didn't teach me anything. The 4 years was a good time. The 8 years gave me a little time to think about some stuff. I was fortunate enough when I went to the yard in Yuma on the third time. There was a program there with Arizona Correctional Industries that allowed businesses from the outside to operate inside using inmate labor. And they're typically, in the past, they'd always been like making cabinets or pallets or some sort of little manufacturing sort of thing like that.
Just kind of grunt labor.
Yeah. This one was a telemarketing gig.
Interesting.
And the only job I'd ever had in my life that was legit was a telemarketing job. And and everyone I ever had, I was good at. And so I thought, well, what the heck? I'm going to go in there. And when you get to prison, you should typically start off on the yard crew making about 10 cents an hour. You know, so you work
like
40
nothing.
hours a week. So you get $4 for the week's work, $8 every 2 weeks to spend at the store. I mean, so that's a little rough. But you got to work your way up. Then you can become a porter and make 20 cents. And then you might get in the kitchen at 30, 35 cents. And you work your way up to best job on the yard's 50 cents an hour.
Yeah.
You know, so you're looking at $40 every 2 weeks you can spend away on, you know.
Yeah.
Well, with these ACI jobs, the ACI would get paid minimum wage for us, which at the time was $7.25, I think. The Arizona Correctional Industries would keep 4.25 of that and allot $3 of it to us. Of that $3, like these numbers aren't exactly right, but just to make it easy to understand, $1 went into a savings account, $1 went to room and board, and $1 went to your spendable.
Oh, okay.
So I actually ended up paying between $15,000 and $16,000 for my 8-year prison sentence, room and board.
Oh gosh!
Wow.
So anyway, I end up getting hired at this place, and as usual, did well.
This is after prison.
No, this is in prison.
Oh, still in.
This is in prison. This is on the yard in Yuma. A guy had a safety company that he was hiring telemarketers for in the prison, and they were selling little 5-minute safety meetings to construction companies just all over the country. And so I got hired, and I went in there, and I got really good at it. Became the best salesperson there. So the whole 8 years, I worked from 5 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon at this job as the lead salesperson for most of the time. So it was really almost like running a business in there. And I would, the owner of the company was just a fantastic Christian man. He was a pastor at a church there in Yuma. And he had taken a chance to start this company, and then was taking a chance on all of us, and really got lucky with some of the people that were there. There were some very creative people there, and there were some good salespeople there. So I started selling safety meetings for him, and it was just became a thing the whole time. I mean, we went from safety meetings to safety manuals to all the different verticals that you can get in the safety business, and we created it all from in there at minimum wage, and then we're selling it on the streets at regular prices, and it worked out pretty profitable for him. And we built that company up from nothing to, let's see, I got out in 2011 and went straight to work for him, and he gave me a great job. And in 2012, he'd sold out to one of those investment companies that comes in. He'd been on the Inc. magazine's fastest growing companies list, and they came in and offered him a boatload of money, and he moved on, and they came in.
Thanks for the cash.
Mission accomplished, you know. They weren't, let me back up. So while we're inside, every day as I'm becoming the best salesman, I'm dealing with him and the management a lot, and he is constantly on me about getting my life right with God. And I'm like, D, come on, man. I grew up in the church, and the things I've done the last 8 or 10 years, it's just, that's
Too far gone.
too far gone, you know. And
Oof.
you know, and of course I'd heard the old prodigal son stuff and all this stuff, but none of that was really registered. I just really accepted the fact that this was my life, that
Yeah.
I was going to get out again. I was going to go sell more drugs, and hopefully I'd be more successful this time. But if they caught me, they're going to catch me. And oh wow, that's just,
You kind of accept that.
I'd accepted that as how it was going to be. But Devin just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. And he's like, just, John, he goes, I promise you, if you give God this much attention, just start talking to him. Tell him the life you want. Tell him the changes you want made. And I think you'll find if you put forth this much effort, he'll blow your mind. And he kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. And eventually I'm like, you know what do I really have to lose? Here I am, 3rd time in prison, not a whole lot going on in life. But heck, so I just started grabbing my Bible every morning when I woke up and would read a chapter. And I'd say my prayers before I went to sleep. And I'll be honest, there was many times I was praying really high for the power to say no next time, you know? And that went on for years. And then finally in 2008, I'd made it from Cheyenne at the medium yard to Cocoa Pot at a minimum yard, still working for the same company. They had an office over there. And I watched a buddy go home that he'd done from 18 to 33, 15 flat. And we had celebrated his leaving, of course. And I just watched him go out the gate, and I looked at everybody and I said, you know what? I really don't want to do that again. It just clicked right then or something. I said,
Time to change.
I'm done. I'm done. And of course I got the standard Snickers, and yeah, sure you are. We all are. Absolutely.
Wink,
We are
wink,
too. Yeah. But I haven't stuck a needle in my arm since that day.
Beautiful.
And it's amazing how my life has changed. And he told me that if I told God the life I wanted, exactly, that he would not only give me the life I wanted, but he would blow my dreams away, that he would blow my mind, that he would bring things into my life that I couldn't even imagine.
Love that.
So I sat there, my prayers would be, hey, I realize I'm going to get out of here in my mid-40s with nothing. But I'd sure like to have a family. I'd sure like to have a career. I'd sure like to not work till I'm 75. You know, I mean, telling you what I want. But I tried to do it not arrogantly, not like demandingly, not like
entitled,
hey,
kind of.
Not entitled, like it's like. But hey, I was told if we talk about this, maybe we can work it out. And a lot of my conversations with God were extremely casual, and still are. I mean, there's reverence, but it's still probably more casual than it should be. But I don't know. Anyway, I digress. So we get out, working for him, doing great, making great money on the streets. Life is wonderful. Met a wonderful woman. Life's really going good. She's got 2 beautiful daughters who I've now adopted, and they call me dad every day.
Beautiful.
4 kids from my first marriage that when I got married, she had 4 children, all found their way back to me and all call me dad, and all their kids call me grandpa today. And it's so from having 0 kids to having 6 kids in my life, with now, as of today, my 15th grandchild was born this morning.
Oh, congratulations.
Bravo.
Yeah, just a beautiful little girl. So that's awesome. But anyway, to get back to the story. Get out, we're living in Yuma. I meet Raquel working for the company. He ends up selling out. The people that come in don't have quite the same level of commitment to those of us who came the way I did up into this company.
Different philosophy.
Well, there just didn't seem to be any opportunity for anything past a top-level sales position. Like they weren't going to transition me into management.
Because of prison time?
I guess. I mean, that's just how I took it. I don't know. That was never actually said or anything like that.
Okay.
But, and don't get me wrong, I had a great job and I was making great money. I mean, I got out in April the 1st of 11, and that year there I think I made 45 or 50,000. But 12, 13, 14, and 15, I made 6 figures working at that company. And for a guy just getting out of prison, that's 3rd time, that's great money. I mean, it's...
Yeah. And you're not going to get arrested for doing it.
And you're not going to get arrested for doing it. And basically what it boiled down to is going to work every day in there taught me a work ethic, taught me that I can be good at something. I've been told several times in my running around life, if I ever put any effort into a legitimate hustle, I'd probably be pretty successful. And so, anyway.
Can I
Yes,
ask you a
sir.
question? And while we're on that, because I've thought this several times before, how many times do you think people that are doing something illegal or destructive, putting a lot of effort, a lot of thought, planning, their whole life is in that? How many of those people do you think, if they legitimately directed that energy into something positive, could be successful? You know, to your degree or not, but successful at least.
Those people or any people, I believe if you put your mind, heart, and soul into it, you can be successful at whatever you want to do, no matter who you are. So yeah, I do believe there's lots of those people that if they could get their lives right, they could have a wonderful life, and I'm proof of that.
One of the things that you mentioned earlier was that you made a conscious choice. Sounds like when you saw your buddy leaving.
I did, yeah,
and
absolutely.
You had your aha moment. People talk about giving themselves up to God or to a higher power. They talk about different aspects of it, but it seems to me that conscious choice is a critical factor.
It is.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. You're not going to be done until you want to be done. And I don't.
Nobody can force you.
Nobody can force you. You can't do it for anybody else. You can't do it for your kids. You can't do it for your wife. You can't do it for your mom. It's between you and God. And He's the only one that can give you what you need to be able to handle that. And, all the classes, all the AA meetings, all the 12 steps, those are bits and pieces that help. But in the end, it's still a decision in here that I'm done. And I've got the backing behind me to do it.
Because, at the end of the day, nobody else can make a decision for you.
No.
Any decision, whether that's to stop a destructive habit, if it's to learn a skill that you need, to get ahead or to accomplish any sort of goal. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the decision is always yours.
For certain.
And that applies obviously to life skills, but it also applies to finance, which we talk about in this podcast, whether it's budgeting, saving, getting an education, developing a side hustle, whatever the case may be. It all comes down to, I got to make that decision, right?
For sure.
So
absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that transition, because I don't know if we cut you off early before you're done with your story, but after you were out to where you are today with JJ Safety,
sure,
almost 100 employees. You say you're closing on what, 15?
We'll come close to 15 million in sales this year. Yeah.
What?
Well, let's get there.
Yeah, let's.
So I'm out working for them 12, 13, 14, 15. By the time 15 comes, it's just my position over there is called the Client Relations Manager. What that position is nobody can cancel their order without going through me. Also, when I got the job, they handed me what they called a caseload of $1.8 million worth of distressed invoices. And unfortunately, this company, for the longest time, they didn't have any sort of QA systems on sales, and people would take advantage of it. You could legit walk up, write a $10,000 sale on the board that you never talk to the people at all, and get paid a commission on that.
Oh, gee.
Wow, that doesn't sound like a great way to keep your money.
He trusted people, and expected people to honor that trust. System. And people did, but then once they saw that, oh wow, if I do this, I get that.
The temptation was,
and it became just so overgrown. Like they would announce having a slow day, so they do like a commission and a half bonus for the next hour. And you'd watch like two people legit get up and go put a sale on the board without touching their phone or anything. And it's just be like, how do you not notice that? And so at one point they let the initial president go and they brought the founder back to kind of fill in until they found a new president. And he asked for if anybody had any ideas on, what they could do different, changes they can make. Man, I fired off an email with some bullet points.
I got some changes.
I
think we can.
Well, and I mean, the first thing was quality assurance on these sales.
Yep.
And so they did institute that, but on down the list, they quit paying attention, and eventually it just became obvious that they'd brought in another president, and it wasn't getting any better. And a buddy said, "Hey, we could." A couple other people had left and started their own company, and we all had non-compete clauses, so there was some sort of. And to be honest, I felt a certain amount of loyalty to it was so hard for me to do, but I had to realize, and had several people tell me, that this is not still the company I helped start. That this is, a new creation from the other people and all that kind of stuff. Even though he was backing in and out, it was still really hard to leave.
That can be a hard thing to kind of realize that you've outgrown kind of the current place that you're at. Yeah. Which okay,
it's
great,
scary.
But it is scary to,
am I reaching making too far? 6 figures? Am I and I'm going to give that up to go try on my own? I mean, that was scary. Yeah. And we had a non-compete. The non-compete said we couldn't compete against them in the same county for a year. So my buddy had just bought a house in Johnson Ranch, and
I live out there, Santan Valley,
and which is not Maricopa County.
Yeah, it's Pinal
County. Yeah. So he had an extra bedroom in his house, and we set up 2 little desks up there, and we just started pounding out phone calls. And it was the first couple of days. I mean, I'd make a phone call, he'd make a phone call because we couldn't talk at the same time. It was too echoey.
Oh, and then what was that background noise?
A couple of days later, Joey showed up, and Scotty showed up, and Droop showed up, and next thing you know, we had 5 or 6 people trying to make calls in the hallway. I mean, at his house, and we got to go get us a little office. So we went and got a little office in Apache Junction.
Okay, just north.
That was 2016. Then we moved back into town in 2017, and just kept working hard and growing, and we really had an interesting business concept. After working there and seeing all the reasons why people canceled, it gave me this awesome insight into what customers really expect.
Interesting. So that was from before, where you saw people canceling, and then in your new venture you go, okay, I know what to do different.
Exactly.
I can implement that.
It's very simple.
Love that.
You just listen to the people. And
oh, shocker.
Shocker. But I mean, there's so many things. There's so many things in big business that are troublesome. For instance, the old adage is you've got product, service, and price. If you're good in 2, you can suck in the 3rd. And so you can be the most expensive if your product's great and your service is great. Yeah. Your service can kind of suck if your price is right and your product's good. Your product can be a little less than average if your price is right and your service is awesome.
Gotcha. I see what
you're saying. See what I mean?
Yep.
But why can't you have all 3? Why can't you have a great service with a fair price that's an awesome product?
Because how much more are you going to grow?
Exactly.
If all 3 are there.
So we thought about that. Then there's another thing. Do you ever call an airline or the cable company or the internet company, and due to an abnormally high number of calls, we're going to need you to wait on hold a little extra long today. Sorry. Yeah. But that's every time you call. So it's no longer abnormal. It's normal. They should have hired more people to cover those calls so that people aren't waiting on hold for 45 minutes trying to change an airline ticket or trying to figure out why their cable bill went up this month.
It's kind of by design, right? So that people can't cancel.
So they don't want to be hang online and all that. So that's almost an evil manipulation of people.
Yeah, definitely.
Who wants to be evilly manipulated? Nobody.
Yeah.
So we decided to do things a different way here, to take customer service to the extreme, to provide the best service we possibly can to people at all times. You'll notice on the floor out here, on 3 of the walls, not the one over the bathroom, it says, "Good enough is the enemy of greatness."
Ooh.
I have seen that when I walked in.
Okay.
Good enough is the enemy of greatness.
You can't ever settle for just being good if you're really striving to be great, right? So you can't ever just get by. You always got to strive to provide the single best interaction they've ever had.
I love
every single call, every single email, every single product that goes out to them. And if you do that, then your customers will love you and you'll be a leader in your industry because you're not relying on just 2 of the 3. You've got all 3 handled.
Because how have you noticed that principle specifically give you less people leaving, more repeat sales, and more referrals? How have you seen that?
That's exactly what we see, because people want a good experience, and if they get a good experience, they tell everybody about it, and it's just, that's where the referrals come in. That's where the growth comes in our little industry, which is a very niche industry. But there's, that company prior to it was the behemoth in the industry, right? And they set such a standard of poor service back in the day that it still resonates across the industry today.
No way.
And so a lot of the companies competing now in this industry are offshoots of that company.
Oh, really?
And not all of them, but there are
a fair amount.
Probably about a quarter of the.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
quarter of the market.
I mean, there's not that. We're in a market where there isn't that much competition.
Yeah.
But the competition that there is a lot of it's from one location. So,
but when you have that good customer service where you are taking care of people, I feel like you can't be competed with.
Exactly. And
because they're going to see the difference and be like, well, I'm obviously going to go with you because I trust you
for sure
to take care of me instead of take advantage of me.
And then you wonder, how do we ensure that our customers get treated that way? And we ensure that because we treat our employees in a manner like they've never been treated before at a job.
I love that, because I won't mention names because I don't want to get in trouble. But I have worked at some companies where, customer service, it's that's the most important. That's the most important, and the employees get treated like crap.
Yeah,
it's like nobody wants to stay.
You guys noticed when you walked in the door.
Yeah.
The first thing they see is a big sign that tells them they're champions, tells them they're trustworthy, tells them they're appreciated, tells them they're just. I mean, there's a whole list of things there. So it starts right when they walk in the door. Every day we provide lunch for them. It's a salad bar and healthy sandwiches and stuff like that. We have trainers that come in at lunch and after work. At lunch, they do a low-impact workouts upstairs for them, and then after work, they do a little higher-impact workouts after work. And we've got a gym upstairs they can all use. Our benefits package is kind of a unicorn in the industry as well. We provide all the insurances that every company provides, but we take no money from our employees. Nothing comes out of their checks for any of the benefit packages. We pay 100% of the premiums on the medical, the vision, the dental, the accidental death and dismemberment, the life, the supplemental Aflac type, not Aflac, one of their competitors.
You're going to get a lot of applications, I think, after.
Happens every time, but we are full. I tell you that. But it's awesome. We have a waiting list of people to get in here.
Love it.
Since COVID,
that's a good problem to have.
Employee-employer dynamic has switched. It used to be, you need a job, you'll do what I tell you. And now it's switched around. It's like, you need an employee, you're going to do what I tell you. And there's no longer this hard-hitting boss, dang, get back to work. You can't get away with that these days. People will walk out on you.
I think in a way that's actually kind of a good thing.
It's moved.
You definitely don't want entitled people, and you want people that are interested in moving the goal forward. But I think it's actually a good thing for people to realize, I can't keep treating people like crap and expect them to just stay.
And expect them to stay and expect them to be good, loyal employees that are trying to strive better, to keep that growth mindset, to be striving to be better people in their personal lives, in their business lives, in all things. And it's that's the kind of the vibe of this whole place is people want to be here. They want to come to work each day. It's we have a waiting list of people to come into sales, front end sales.
Love it.
And you look around every business. We're approaching the holidays, and still they all have help wanted signs.
Yeah.
All the big ones. They can't keep enough employees, and we don't have any problem. I've probably missed some of this. Oh yeah, we have massage therapists that come in every other week and set up chairs out there and just do 10 minutes on everybody's shoulders.
I saw Tatum the other day.
Tatum and her people come through.
Great.
They're amazing. They've become just a part of the company.
I love it.
But anyway, and from 2015 to today, we've went from just me and a buddy to we have 91 employees.
Yeah.
We've been on Inc. Magazine's fastest growing companies list 5 years in a row. we got a letter from them this year saying, in all the time they've been doing it, only 3% of companies have ever done it 5 years in a row.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool.
That's a great accomplishment.
It is.
Can I ask a question about employees?
Sure.
What kind of employee do you look for? You talked about what as an employer, what you try to provide your employees to give them an environment that they would want to work in. But if I'm trying to teach my children, for instance, what kind of employee to be, how do I look good to an employer so that they'll hire me? What do you look for in an employee specifically?
Well, coming from my background, we are a big second chance employer.
Love it.
So I have, of the 91 employees or whatever that we have today, around half of them have a similar background to mine.
Interesting.
So my management team is a lot of my buddies I was locked up with. I mean, I've got, we've all kind of done this together. And now we've passed on to where we're like bringing in younger people going through the same thing and trying to, mentor them through it, but in this business setting. And it's really turned into a kind of a cool little second chance environment where we're able to, everybody work together to keep each other accountable and still have fun and watch each other's lives grow and change together. And it's been fun. But your question as to what do we look for in them? Mm-hmm. I guess you might call it a growth mindset, but how do you identify that growth mindset? And it's, you ask them, what's your plan? What are you going to do different this time? Like what's really going to make a difference in you getting out this time than it did last time? And then you listen and see if they've really thought this through and thought it out, and do they have a plan? And the ones that do are pretty successful. The ones that don't, they're probably not ready yet.
Well, kind of like what the mindset that you had before, that fixed mindset, the opposite of the growth mindset. This is just how my life is.
This is what it's going to be.
That's the fixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, no, I have the power to
change, to do
grow.
Whatever. So not many 3-time losers have the opportunities that I have had, but by the grace of God, I've been put in a position to be able to help a whole lot of other people, and through my story, I've been able to, give other people hope that they can make these changes. And it's not just people who have made horrible decisions like myself and had the consequences for it, but anybody. I mean, if you don't know what you want to do, and you haven't ever been in any trouble, but you just haven't really done anything yet, you're still the future's wide open. It's scary. You don't know. But if you focus on something and work your butt off to be the best you can at that thing,
whatever that is, yeah,
and then do your best to treat everybody right involved with it, you can't lose.
Beautiful.
I had
beautiful
some training I went through. It was actually in real estate, but one of the things that I learned in that is to approach people not from the aspect of what do you have that's going to benefit me, but what do I have that I can give you to help you reach what goals you have. That mindset is a complete 180-degree change in a lot of people's mindsets.
Because my life was always take.
Mm-hmm.
I spent my whole adult life
taking.
I mean, legit robbing. And in this, since my life has turned around, I've seen the more I give, the more I give away, the more comes in. And
isn't that incredible?
I don't mean it like some sort of prosperity ministry or anything like that, but it's kind of how it works out.
But it's reality.
It's reality. And it's my initial thing now when I meet a person is, what can I do for this person? Not what can this person do for me?
Yep.
And when you approach everybody that way, your interactions just change. And that's just how my whole life has changed.
What I have noticed, because I kind of made that decision too, that conscious decision of, trying to give without the expectation of getting anything from it. And I felt so much more fulfilled by the work that I was doing. And then, shocker, more people want to give me something, because they're like, why are you doing this when there's no benefit to you? And so when they can see that it's genuine, that's what builds the trust. It's not a tactic. It's not a, ploy or whatever. It is genuine. And they go, that's the person I want to work with.
That's it.
But man, I have just gotten so much from this, and I've loved your story. I mean, we've been trying to do this for
a few months,
for a while, but we're so grateful that we've been able to have you on.
Oh, thank
I guess just kind of as we're kind of approaching the end of time here, last real bit of advice you would give someone who is trying to get ahead, maybe starting a business. What's one real big piece of advice you could give them?
Always make your yes a yes and your no a no. Just be right with people. Treat people right, and they'll treat you right back.
I love it.
It's great.
Love it. Well, no, thank you, John. Guys, if you have received benefit from this, which I know I have, please like, subscribe, share this with people that you think can get benefit from it. By all means, put questions in the comments that you might have for John. We'd love to have you back on, to talk about some of these other principles and maybe your story, different things like that. If you're going through a hard time, you can get through it. And if you have that growth mindset and the mindset of helping the other people around you, you'll go a lot farther than you've ever thought that you could. We love you. We think you're great. We'll join you next time.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.